everybody, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris Kouloukis, head chanter at St. Demetrius Greek Orthodox Church in Seattle, Washington. And today we're going to continue our series on Plagal, fourth mode. We're going to be learning about the Eirmologic melodies today. And of course, as usual, if you ever have any questions for me, go ahead and shoot me an email at the email that is in the description. And if you would like to schedule any one-on-one private lessons with me, you can do so at the link in the description below as well. And if you're enjoying these lessons, go ahead, like, and subscribe to the channel, and let's get it going. So, Eirmologic, what does that mean? Well, we have three different main genres of music, of pieces in Byzantine music. So we have the Eirmologic genre, comes from the word Eirmos, which is a stanza of text at the beginning of every canon, or of every ode in a canon. And if you've heard a canon before, you'll know that they are quite fast. They're sung very fast, and they're syllabic melodies. So syllables in the text aren't drawn out for a very long time. It's usually just syllable, syllable, syllable with different notes. And so they're very quick. And many Eirmologic melodies are contained in the Eirmologion, which is a book of melodies that contains the melodies for all of the Eirmi in the canons, as there are lots of different melodies for canons. And as I've already said, the canon is a very common example of an Eirmologic piece. So if you know the canon of Pascha, right? Anastase osimer alambrin thomen lai. Dun, 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 dun. It's very fast. It's pretty syllabic. And it's quick. It's done quickly. A stichoraric melody is a little bit slower than an Eirmologic. So it comes from the word stichiron or stichos, which are texts that are sung in between psalm verses. So if you know Lord, I have cried, or Kyrie Kraxa from the Vesper service, a Plagal fourth one would sound like the beginning. Kyrie. All of those notes were just on the word Kyrie, right? So that means that they're going to be more slightly drawn out than Eirmologic melodies. There's going to be one syllable, maybe there's a whole phrase on that syllable, and then you move on to the next word as I just demonstrated there. And then the papatic genre comes from the Greek word papas, meaning priest, and it's the very long, drawn-out things that you'll hear in the liturgy. So, for example, the cherubic hymn and the communion hymn, those are both papatic melodies. They're super drawn out. You'll sing one vowel for maybe half of a page, and they are usually sung when the priest is performing liturgical action. So, for example, the priest is prepping the communion, and we sing the communion hymn, and that's why the communion hymn is drawn out for so long, because we need to give the priest time to prepare that communion. Now, let's look at the apichima for the Eirmologic Plagal fourth melodies. So remember, today we're just looking at Eirmologic. We're not looking at the stichoraric or papatic. Those will be later videos. So the apichima, well, first, what is an apichima? An apichima is a little small melody that you sing before you start whatever piece you're about to sing, to introduce the mode that you're about to sing in. And it kind of gets your ear attuned to whatever the mode is as well. The apichimata differ between Eirmologic, stichoraric, and papatic melodies. So the Eirmologic apichima here is so you would sing that before you start any pieces. All right, one more time. It's all right, and then let's go on to some examples of pieces here. All right, so here we have Kyrie Kraxa, the Eirmologic melody, the quick melody. Sometimes you'll hear Eirmologic also called syndomon. Okay, so the syndoma melodies for Kyrie Kraxa. And we're going to start here. So we start on ni, right? But then we have this character, which means up 5. So we're going up 5 from the, which is K. So we're going to start with the apichima. And then we'll start, and I will go very slowly on the paralagi here. Kezo kedi gamu gadi kezo kedi di gabu pabu gabu pani. So you'll hear that, just like we talked about in the last video. If you missed the video about the Plagal fourth, the theory of Plagal fourth, go back and watch that before you continue in this video, because otherwise this is going to be a bit confusing for you. Here we have that zo that's flatted. Remember, it's flat because it doesn't go up to ni. It hits the zo, it just goes right back down. So we're not in that agya tetrachord fully. And then here we have the that pa, remember, if it's between two vus, it's going to be sharped quite a bit, right? That melodic attraction from pa to vu is important. And depending on how fast you're singing these for the during the Vespers, some of the attractions are going to be played out a little bit less than they would be if you were maybe singing something in the sticharic genus, but they're still going to be there, so make sure that you don't ignore them, all right? So, let's move on. Ni, vu, starting here. Vu, pa, vu, ga, di, gamu, ga, di, kezo, keli, zo, keli, ga, di, pa, vu, gamu, pa, vu, ni. So again here, vu, pa, vu, that pa sharp, because in between two vus, it's attracted to the vu. And these zones right here and right here are both going to be low, because we're hitting them and going back down. Here it even has it written out for you. This flat is right here. Sorry, did I say sharp? I meant flat. So both of these zones are going to be flat. All right, and yes, this one right here, it's written, the flat is written there, but even if it wasn't written there, we would know that it's flat because it hits the zo and doesn't go up to ni. It just goes right back down. And then we keep going. Ni, vu, ga, di, ga, vu, pa, ga, vu, pa, ni. So here, you'll notice that we have an andikenoma with an apli in the middle of it. And what we do when we see those, a very common thing to do is you do a little wave with your voice. Pa, pa, da. So little hit the note, down, up, over the note, and then back to the note. Pa, ni, ni. So in context, starting again from here. Ni, vu, ga, di, ga, vu, ga, di, ga, vu, pa, ga, vu, pa, ni. And that's what we got there. All right. So you'll notice that I did that little wave with the voice on this character. So relatively straightforward, nothing too crazy. But again, you'll notice that this melody is very syllabic. Kyrie, eke, kraksa. Every syllable has its own character, its own note. So now I'll sing it for you once with a melos, and then we will move on to a new piece. Na, na, yeah. Kyrie, eke, kraksa, prose, isakuson mu, Kyrie. Kyrie ekekroxa proseis akuson mu, prosgestim phonitis deiseos mu, ento kekroienem proseis akuson mu, Kyrie. So that's not as fast as I might sing it in church. Usually we'd sing it, Kyrie ekekroxa proseis akuson mu. And that's, because it's a fast melody. This wouldn't be done on a Plagal Fourth week or on a weekday liturgy when we're doing Plagal Fourth. But I slowed it down so you could follow along. All right, so let's move on to a different example. So this is Kateftin the second part of the Kekragaria in the Vesper service. Again, Plagal Fourth in the Eirmologic genus. It's nice and syllabic, nice and quick. Let's do it on Paralagi first. Ni the apichima. And I'll say just real quickly that you wouldn't do the apichima if you just sang a hymn in Plagal Fourth and you're moving on to the next hymn that's also in Plagal Fourth. You don't need to do the apichima again because you're still in the mode. You're in the same mode, right? So, for example, usually right after you sing Kyrie ekekroxa, then you move right on to Kateftin Thito. And you don't need to do an apichima in the middle. So you just move right on to the next piece. So let's hear it. Paralagi. 1, 2, 3. Nivugadi kenigavugadi kezakedi. Nigadi di pavugamu pavupanini. So that's the first bit. Again, the melodic tractions come into play here. Nivugadi, right here on this. Ni pavugam. Pa is attracted up to vu. And then, let's move on to the next part. Ni, so this is up 3, so from ni to ga. And we see this 3 here, which means you have one measure of 3 rhythmically. So you're going 1, 2, 3 for this measure. The emphasis is going to be on the first beat, and the second 2 are not as emphasized, and then we move on again to 2. Ni gavu pavu gadi keni di kezo keni gavu gadi di gavu pa gavu pani. So, right here you have a pa that's between 2 vus, so that's attracted upwards. Other than that, pretty straightforward. Let's hear it with the melos. Ni vuga di keni gamuga di kezo keni the. Oh, sorry. Let's hear it with the melos. 1, 2. Kateftin Thito I prosevhimu Hosti mi amano pionsu De parsiston chironmu Thisian esperini Isakuson mu Kyrie. So that's the melos there. Now the last thing that we got to cover for Plagal Fourth, Eirmologic, and this goes for Eirmologic and Stikrark as well. When we're intoning verses, we're going to start on ni and move towards thee and then end on ni. So here's an example of a verse that we would sing right after we did Kateftin Thito in Vespers. So that's out of rhythm on ni. And then here you see it says the martyria of thee. So we're starting here on thee, back in rhythm. vidigadi kezokeni, pavugamu pavuni. So we're on the, hanging out around the, and then ending again on ni. So this whole thing sounds like this. Exagagek philakistim sichinmu, tu exomologisaste tonomatisu. And if I was going to just intone this without reading the music, exagagek philakistim sichinmu, tu exomologisaste tonomatisu, I would do this, something like this. Okay, we're following the starting on ni and then moving upwards to the and then back down to ni. Exagagek philakistim sichinmu, tu exomologisaste tonomatisu. So you could do something like that. Okay. Let's move on to the last example that we have here, which starts with this verse we just did and then goes into another melody. So I'll just do this one on the melos the whole time. You can follow along, and if you want to review it on paralagi by yourself, you can do so. Hexagagek philakistim sichinmu, tu exomologisaste tonomatisu. So you'll probably notice that I did a little apachitura, a little approach from above in this note. Tu exomologisaste. So if you see a psifiston, usually you can do that. You can do a little jump above and approach the note from above. And remember, psifiston, if we're not talking ornaments, it just means you're accenting, okay? So let's move on to the piece. So sorry, let's do the verse one more time and move right into the piece from there. So the verse comes before the stichos, the stichiron. Exagagek philakistim sichinmu, tu exomologisaste tonomatisu. Hesperinon hymnon kelogikin latrian, si Christe prosferomen, oti ivdokisas tu eleiseimas, diatis Anastaseos. And that's it. So thank you once again for watching. So now we're starting to get into some things that are actually repertoire, right? So what's important now is the listening. So you want to really be listening to this repertoire. Just search Kekaragaria, Plagal fourth tone, and lots of things will come up on YouTube, okay? YouTube's the best place to search for recordings of master chanters in Greece. So, once again, thank you for watching. I hope you found this video informative and helpful for those of you who are learning chant. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me at the email below, and I will see you in the next video.